The Trail of Tears stands as a stark reminder of the forced removal of Native Americans from their ancestral lands in the southeastern United States during the 1830s. This tragic journey, which spanned over 1,000 miles, saw the displacement of entire communities, tearing families apart and leaving a lasting scar on the collective memory of the Cherokee people. This tragic event, a result of the Indian Removal Act of 1830, led to the forced relocation of thousands of Native Americans, primarily the Cherokee, to designated Indian territory west of the Mississippi River. The journey was fraught with peril, as those who were forced to leave their homes faced harsh weather conditions, disease, and a lack of adequate supplies. Many did not survive the journey, and those who did were left to rebuild their lives in unfamiliar and often inhospitable lands. The Trail of Tears represents a dark chapter in American history, marked by broken treaties, government oppression, and the resilience of a people facing unimaginable hardship. The US government repeatedly violated agreements made with Native American tribes, prioritizing the interests of settlers and expansion over the rights and well-being of indigenous peoples. The Cherokee, along with other tribes, were forced to endure a grueling march that tested their physical and emotional limits. The Trail of Tears is not just a historical event, it is a symbol of the enduring struggle of Native Americans for their rights, their land, and their cultural survival. Despite the immense challenges they faced, the Cherokee and other tribes managed to preserve their cultural heritage, passing down traditions, stories, and languages to future generations. This resilience is a testament to their strength and determination in the face of adversity. It serves as a reminder of the human cost of expansionist policies and the devastating impact of forced assimilation. The policies of the time sought to erase Native American cultures and identities, forcing them to adopt the ways of the settlers. This led to a loss of cultural practices, languages, and a deep sense of dislocation among the displaced communities. The Trail of Tears is a poignant example of the consequences of such policies. The Trail of Tears is a poignant reminder of the human cost of westward expansion and the importance of understanding and respecting the rights of indigenous peoples. It underscores the need for a more inclusive and respectful approach to history, one that acknowledges the suffering and contributions of Native Americans. By remembering the Trail of Tears, we honor the resilience and spirit of those who endured it and recognize the ongoing struggles of indigenous communities today. The story of the Trail of Tears is a story of survival, resilience, and the enduring spirit of the Native American people. It is a testament to their ability to overcome immense challenges and to maintain their cultural identity in the face of adversity. The legacy of the Trail of Tears continues to inspire and remind us of the importance of justice, equality, and respect for all peoples. The Indian Removal Act of 1830, signed into law by President Andrew Jackson, authorized the president to negotiate with Native American tribes in the southern United States for their removal to federal territory west of the Mississippi River in exchange for their ancestral homelands. This legislation was a significant moment in American history, reflecting the broader policies and attitudes of the time. This act stemmed from the growing desire for Native American land by white settlers and the belief in manifest destiny, the idea that the United States was destined to expand its dominion and spread democracy across North America. Manifest destiny was more than just a policy. It was a cultural belief that drove the expansionist agenda of the 19th century, encouraging settlers to move westward and claim lands that were already inhabited by Native American tribes. The Indian Removal Act was highly controversial and faced opposition from many, including some members of Congress and religious groups. These opponents argued that the act was inhumane and unjust, violating the rights of Native American tribes who had lived on their ancestral lands for generations. Debates in Congress were heated, with passionate speeches made both in favor of and against the act. However, the act was ultimately passed and signed into law, setting in motion a policy of forced removal that would have a devastating impact on Native American tribes, particularly the 5 civilized tribes. The implementation of this policy led to the infamous Trail of Tears, a series of forced relocations that resulted in the suffering and death of thousands of Native Americans. The Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, and Seminole, these tribes, known as the Five Civilized Tribes, had made significant efforts to assimilate into European American culture, adopting farming practices, education systems, and even aspects of government, who had established settled agricultural societies and adopted many aspects of European American culture. Despite their efforts to coexist and integrate, they were still subjected to forced removal, highlighting the deep-seated prejudices and economic motivations behind the act.
This act paved the way for the forced relocation of thousands of Native Americans. The journey was grueling and fraught with hardship, as families were uprooted from their homes and made to travel vast distances under harsh conditions. Many perished along the way due to disease, starvation, and exposure. It marked a turning point in the relationship between the United States government and Native American tribes. The Indian Removal Act not only reshaped the physical landscape of the nation, but also left a lasting legacy of mistrust and sorrow that would affect Native American communities for generations to come. The act is a stark reminder of the consequences of policies driven by expansionist desires and racial prejudices.
The Trail of Tears was not a single event, but a series of forced removals that took place over several years. The Cherokee, along with other southeastern tribes, were forced to leave their homes, farms, and ancestral lands, embarking on a treacherous journey westward. The journey was characterized by immense suffering with inadequate supplies, exposure to harsh weather conditions, disease, and death. Many Native Americans died from starvation, disease, and exhaustion along the way. Families were separated, and communities were torn apart as they were forced to abandon their homes and sacred sites. The journey west was marked by heartbreak, loss, and the constant threat of violence from soldiers and settlers.
The Trail of Tears stands as a testament to the resilience of the Native American people in the face of immense adversity.
Section 4. The Cherokee Experience, a nation divided and dispossessed.
The Cherokee Nation, much like other tribes subjected to the forced removal, was deeply impacted by the Indian Removal Act. We had adopted many aspects of European American culture, including literacy, agriculture, and a written constitution. Despite our efforts to assimilate and coexist peacefully, we were ultimately forced to leave our ancestral lands in the southeast and embark on the brutal journey westward.
The Cherokee were divided on how to respond to the government's removal policy. Some leaders advocated for resistance, while others believed that negotiation and accommodation offered the best chance for survival. This division within the tribe led to internal conflict and further complicated their response to the impending removal.
The forced removal of the Cherokee Nation resulted in significant loss of life, cultural disruption, and the erosion of our traditional way of life. Yet, despite the hardships we endured, we demonstrated remarkable resilience, rebuilding our nation in Indian territory.
Section 5. The Trail's End, a New Beginning, Oklahoma, and the Aftermath of Removal. This chapter delves into the profound changes and challenges faced by the Cherokee and other tribes as they navigated their new reality in Indian Territory, which would later become the state of Oklahoma.
The forced relocation of the Cherokee and other tribes led to the establishment of Indian Territory, a vast area designated by the U.S. government for Native American tribes displaced from their ancestral homelands. This territory, however, was not a sanctuary, but a place of further trials and tribulations. Over time, Indian Territory would undergo significant changes, eventually transitioning into what we now know as the state of Oklahoma. This transformation was marked by a series of complex events, including the influx of settlers and the push for statehood. The journey's end, however, did not mark the end of their hardships. The Cherokee and other tribes faced immense challenges as they tried to rebuild their lives from scratch in a new and unfamiliar land. The physical and emotional toll of the relocation was profound, leaving scars that would last for generations. The Cherokee and other tribes were forced to rebuild their lives in a new and unfamiliar land, often starting from nothing. They had to construct new homes, establish new communities, and find ways to sustain themselves in an environment that was often hostile and unwelcoming. In addition to these challenges, they often faced conflict with other tribes who had been forcibly relocated to the same territory. These tensions sometimes erupted into violence, further complicating the already difficult process of resettlement.
The trauma of the Trail of Tears had a lasting impact on the Cherokee people, shaping their identity and their relationship with the United States government. The memory of this forced march and the suffering endured became a central part of their collective consciousness. This period also saw the Cherokee and other tribes engaging in numerous negotiations and treaties with the US government. These agreements were often fraught with tension and mistrust as the tribes sought to protect their remaining lands and assert their rights. The Cherokee Nation faced internal conflicts, land disputes, and the challenge of maintaining their cultural identity in the face of external pressures. These internal struggles were compounded by the constant threat of further encroachment on their lands. The US government continued its efforts to erode their sovereignty and assimilate them into mainstream American society. Policies aimed at assimilation often clashed with the tribe's desire to preserve their cultural heritage and autonomy.
The arrival of the Cherokee and other tribes transformed the demographic landscape of the region. Their presence brought new cultural influences and traditions, but also led to significant changes in the social and political dynamics of the area. This influx of displaced tribes led to the displacement of other Native American tribes who had long inhabited those lands. The resulting conflicts and competition for resources created a volatile environment that affected all the tribes involved. The forced removal had a profound impact on the development of the American West. It not only altered the lives of the Native American tribes, but also influenced the patterns of settlement and expansion that would shape the future of the United States.